Wounded Cowboy was left to die in the desert, but an Apache woman's gift changed his fate forever. The twin sons of Saguaro, 7 burned bright in the sky, spilling golden light over the endless desert plains. Jagged rocks rose like the teeth of some ancient creature, and the sand shimmered with an otherworldly glow, dusted with tiny fragments of crystalline minerals. Somewhere far off, a wind whispered through the dunes, carrying the scent of ozone and hot metal. It was a lonely world, a place where only the bravest or the most reckless dared to travel. Jace Corrigan had always been both. A cowboy of the stars, he wore a wide-brimmed hat over a weathered face, and his boots were scuffed from countless desert journeys. But even he had never faced a desert like this. The dunes were alive in ways no ordinary desert was. The sand seemed to pulse under his boots, shifting slightly as if the planet itself were watching him. His hovercycle lay smashed and smoking behind a ridge, the result of a sudden ambush by a gang of asteroid raiders. Jace had barely managed to dodge the first wave of energy nets they fired, but the second strike had clipped him hard, sending him tumbling down the rocky slope. His shoulder throbbed, his leg ached, and the burns along his arm sizzled with heat. Pain and exhaustion blurred the world into jagged shapes and shifting colors. Jace tried to push himself up, but his body refused to obey. The desert was silent except for the faint hiss of heated sand under the suns and the occasional scrape of distant rocks. His comm device had been destroyed in the crash. No signal, no help. No one knew he was out here. He thought about the raiders and their cargo. Rare crystalline fuel worth more than a dozen starships back on Terra. The thought made his teeth grit. But anger was a luxury he could not afford. His concern now was survival. Slowly, painstakingly, he dragged himself across the hot sand, leaving streaks of blood and sweat behind him. Hours passed. The suns moved overhead, turning the golden sands into a blinding white glare. Jace felt his energy draining, and his thoughts began to slip. Memories flickered in and out of focus. The quiet town of Red Mesa, the smell of hay, the laugh of a friend long gone. The desert seemed endless, a vast ocean of heat and light. And then he saw her. At first, Jace thought it was a trick of the sun. A shimmer in the distance, a moving figure gliding over the dunes. But as she came closer, he saw her clearly, a woman, tall and graceful, with long black hair that seemed to float around her like smoke. Her eyes were deep and knowing, almost glowing in the desert light. What caught his attention most, though, were the subtle metallic lines along her arms and temples. Small implants, glowing faintly with a soft amber light pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. She moved with a confidence that made the dunes seem like soft rugs under her feet. She was Island, a guardian of this world, though Jace did not know it yet. When she reached him, she knelt without a word, her hands moving over his injuries. Jace tried to pull away at first, fear making him tense, but she spoke softly, her voice like a melody. "Relax," she said. "I won't harm you. The desert brought you to me for a reason." It hovered over his burns and cuts, sending out pulses of light that made the pain in his body dull into a gentle warmth. Jace felt his body responding almost instantly. His muscles relaxed, the burning sensation faded, and a calm, steady rhythm returned to his heartbeat. "What is this?" he croaked, still unsure whether he was dreaming. "This is the gift of the desert," Island said, her eyes scanning the horizon. "It heals the body, yes, but it also teaches the mind to listen, to feel the world around you." Jace tried to sit up, amazed at how strong he felt suddenly. His body, which moments ago had been weak and broken, now seemed alive with energy. Even the pain in his shoulder had lessened to a dull throb. You saved me," he said, awe in his voice. "I did not save you," she corrected softly. "The desert saved you. I only guided it." Jace blinked. The desert, it had saved him? The thought was strange and unsettling, but he could not deny the feeling in his body. The way the sands beneath him seemed to hum with life. Island handed him a small, seed-like crystal. "Keep this," she said. "Plant it in the sand when you are ready to move forward. It will connect you to this place. Listen to it, and it will guide you." Jace held the crystal in his palm. It was warm and alive, as if it were breathing. When he focused, he thought he could hear faint whispers, soft and distant, carried on the wind. It was as if the desert itself was speaking to him. He looked up at Island. "And the raiders?" he asked. They left me here to die. They'll be back." She nodded, her expression calm but serious. "They will. But they will not harm you if you respect the desert and its gifts. You are no longer just a man in the desert. You are part of it now. Its energy flows through you." Jace swallowed hard. He had faced outlaws, wild beasts, and the dangers of starry frontiers before, but this was different. It was like the desert had chosen him for something bigger, something he could not yet understand. Hours passed as Island taught him the first lessons. The desert was full of life, crystalline plants that responded to touch, sand creatures that left trails of glowing energy, and winds that carried not just air, but information. Jace learned to sense the vibrations in the sand, to hear the faint hum of energy through his body, and to see patterns in the light that he had never noticed before. By nightfall, the twin moons rose, casting a soft silver glow over the dunes. Jace had never seen anything so beautiful. The desert, which had seemed hostile and barren, was alive, full of hidden paths and quiet power. He felt a connection to it that was deep and grounding, a feeling he had never experienced even in the open plains of his homeworld. Island stood beside him, her glowing eyes reflecting the moons. "Tomorrow you will begin to move," she said. "You will explore the desert, learn its secrets, and prepare for what is coming. The raiders will return, and you must be ready, not with weapons, but with the desert as your ally." Jace nodded, still amazed at the transformation in his body and mind. I don't even know where to start," he admitted. "You start by listening," Island said. "The desert will guide you if you are patient. Trust it, trust yourself, and you will survive." Jace spent the rest of the night staring at the stars, feeling the gentle pulse of energy beneath his skin. He could hear the desert breathing, whispering secrets in a language he could almost understand. Somewhere deep in him, a sense of purpose was awakening. He was no longer just a lone cowboy drifting from one star to another. He had a mission now, and the desert was his teacher. As he drifted to sleep, he held the small crystal in his hand, feeling its warmth seep into his palm. He knew that life on Saguaro 7 would never be the same. The desert had claimed him, and in return, it had given him a gift. Tomorrow, his journey would begin. And for the first time in his life, Jace Corrigan felt that the stars themselves were watching, guiding, and waiting for him to rise. The first light of dawn stretched over the jagged dunes, painting Saguaro 7 in soft shades of pink and gold. The desert was quiet, alive only with the faint hum of energy through the crystalline sands. Jace Corrigan opened his eyes. The warmth of the small crystal Aelin had given him pulsing gently in his palm. He had slept deeply, his body mending faster than he had thought possible. The burns on his arm were already fading, and his muscles no longer ached. It felt strange, almost magical, but he remembered Aelin's words. "The desert saved you. I only guided it." Aelin was already standing nearby, her silhouette outlined against the rising sun. She had spread a thin mat of glowing desert fibers on the sand and was kneeling, meditating with her eyes closed. As Jace approached, she opened her eyes, and a soft, calm smile greeted him. "Good morning," she said. "Are you ready?" "I think so," Jace replied, unsure. "I still don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do." "You are here to listen," Aelin said simply. "The desert has its own language. You only need to pay attention." Jace held the crystal tightly and focused. He felt a faint vibration in the sand beneath his boots, almost like tiny footsteps running in every direction at once. The dunes shimmered faintly as the sunlight touched them, and for the first time he noticed patterns in the desert that he had never seen before. The sand wasn't just sand, it was alive, responding to the light, the wind, even the presence of a living being.
Aelin guided him through the first lesson.
"Take a deep breath. Listen to the desert." Jace obeyed. He inhaled slowly, and at first all he could hear was the faint whistle of the wind. And then gradually a soft hum rose from the sands themselves, faint at first, like a heartbeat buried under layers of stone. He could feel it vibrating in his hands, his feet, and even his chest. "That's it," Aelin whispered. "The desert is speaking. You feel its energy. Its flow. It shows you the hidden paths, the dangers, and even the treasures. You only need to trust it." For hours, Jace practiced. Aelin taught him how to sense vibrations in the ground, how to see shifts in the air currents, and how to feel life in the desert without seeing it. Slowly, he began to notice small creatures, transparent, crystal-like insects skimming the surface, plants that glowed faintly as he passed, and small energy streams running beneath the sand like invisible rivers. By midday, the suns were high, and the desert's glare was harsh. Jace wiped sweat from his brow, amazed at how his body seemed lighter, faster, and more attuned to the world around him. His thoughts, which had often raced or become chaotic during danger, were now calm and clear. For the first time, he felt like he belonged in this strange alien wilderness. Aelin handed him a thin staff carved from a rare crystal found only on Saguaro. 7. This will help you focus, she explained. It channels your connection with the desert. When you hold it, you can feel energy flows more strongly. Jace took the staff, feeling its vibrations run up his arm and into his chest. He moved slowly across the dunes, following the faint hum of the sand, and discovered something incredible. Paths appeared where he walked, invisible before, now glowing faintly with energy. Small creatures moved aside as if bowing to him, and tiny crystalline flowers seemed to bloom in his footsteps. This is amazing, Jace said, turning to Aelin. It's like the desert is alive. Really alive. And it will guide you, if you respect it. You must understand this energy before you can face the raiders. You cannot fight them with force alone. You must outthink them, use the desert itself to protect you. As they moved deeper into the dunes, Aelin began to tell Jace the history of her people. She spoke of her ancestors, the desert guardians, who had lived in harmony with the sands for centuries. They had learned the desert's language, its energy, and its secrets. But, over time, outsiders had arrived, miners, raiders, and traders, who only saw the desert as a resource to exploit. Her people had dwindled, and now she was one of the last who could truly connect with the desert. You, she said, her glowing eyes meeting his, may be the first outsider in many generations who can truly understand it. That is why the desert brought you here. You are not just a traveler. You are a part of this world now. Jace felt a mix of pride and fear. He had survived countless dangers before, but this was different. He was being asked not just to survive, but to understand and respect a world that seemed almost magical in its complexity. As the suns began to dip toward the horizon, Aelin taught him a final lesson for the day, how to hide his presence and move silently across the dunes. Jace learned to shift his weight, blend with the sand's patterns, and even use the energy flows to mask his location. By the time night fell, he was amazed at how much he had absorbed in just one day. The twin moons rose slowly, bathing the desert in soft silver light. Jace and Aelin sat together on a dune, gazing at the stars. The crystal in his hand pulsed faintly, as if alive. Tomorrow, Aelin said, you will start to move. You will explore areas the raiders do not know about, and you will learn to use the desert to your advantage. They will come back, but you will be ready. Jace looked at the horizon, where jagged silhouettes of distant rock formations cut across the moon's glow. I think I'm ready, he said. Aelin smiled. Ready does not mean fearless. It means listening, observing, and trusting yourself. You are stronger than you know. The night passed quietly, the desert alive with sounds Jace had never noticed before. The soft hum of crystalline sands, the whisper of small creatures beneath the surface, and the faint pulse of energy streams all combined into a symphony of life. Jace lay on the sand, holding the crystal close, feeling a deep sense of peace. By dawn he was ready to begin. Aelin guided him to a hidden valley where small crystalline plants grew, their glow soft and inviting. She handed him a small scanner device, one that could detect energy streams beneath the sand. This will help you learn, she said. But remember, your greatest tool is not this device. It is your mind and your connection with the desert. Trust it. Jace nodded, feeling the desert's energy running through him more strongly than ever. He moved slowly through the valley, learning to sense the smallest vibrations, to see the faint traces of hidden water and minerals, and to understand the subtle signals that told him where life thrived and where danger could lurk. Hours passed, and Jace felt his confidence grow. He could sense energy flows that led to hidden caves, underground springs, and even small crystal deposits that the raiders would never notice. The desert was no longer an enemy. It was a teacher, a guide, and an ally. As the suns reached their peak, Aelin called him to a high ridge overlooking the desert. Look, she said. The raiders may return today. Watch how they move. Notice the patterns, the paths, the energy they disturb. Learn from it. Jace squinted against the glare and spotted distant specks moving along the ridge. The raiders were scouting, likely looking for him, unaware that he had become part of the desert itself. He smiled. The desert had chosen him, and he had begun to understand its gifts. He would not face the raiders with brute force. He would face them with knowledge, patience, and the subtle power of the desert. Aelin placed a hand on his shoulder. You are ready for the next step, she said. Tomorrow, you will begin your journey across the hidden paths. You will see the desert in ways no outsider ever has. And the raiders, they will not know what hit them. Jace felt a thrill of excitement. For the first time in his life, he felt truly alive. The desert was no longer a threat. It was a partner, a guide, and a protector. And with Island's guidance, he knew he could survive anything. As the twin moons rose again, Jace and Island returned to their hidden valley. The crystal in his hand pulsed softly, a heartbeat of its own. Jace Corrigan was no longer just a stranded cowboy. He was a student of the desert, a traveler in tune with its life. And soon, he would face the raiders, not with anger, but with the wisdom of Saguaro. Seven itself. The desert had given him a gift, and he was ready to honor it. The morning sun had barely touched the horizon when Jace Corrigan stepped carefully onto the glowing sands of Saguaro. 7. The desert was quiet but alive in a way he had learned to feel over the past 2 days. Every grain of sand seemed to vibrate with energy, every shadow whispered secrets, and the faint hum of life pulsed through the ground beneath his boots. Island walked beside him, her calm presence guiding him through the dunes. "Today," she said, "you will see if the desert can protect you. The raiders are near, and you must learn how to move without being seen."
Jace nodded.
His hands gripped the crystal staff tightly, feeling its subtle vibrations sync with his own heartbeat. He had trained, meditated, and listened. Now it was time to put his lessons to the test. Island led him to a ridge overlooking a wide valley. The sands shimmered in the sunlight, and far in the distance, Jace saw tiny specks moving, the raiders. They were scouting, looking for the precious crystals hidden beneath the desert's surface. "They do not know you are here," Island whispered. "The desert will help you stay hidden, but only if you trust it." Jace closed his eyes and focused. He felt the soft pulse of energy beneath his boots, the subtle movement of air over the dunes, and the faint vibrations of the raiders' steps far away. The desert spoke in a language only he could hear, guiding him to move in harmony with the shifting sands. He took a careful step, then another, shifting his weight in time with the desert's rhythm. Each movement was slow, deliberate, and precise. The raiders' distant shouts echoed faintly across the valley, but Jace felt invisible, merged with the dunes themselves. Island watched him with a small, approving smile. "Good," she said. "You are beginning to understand. You are not hiding from the desert. You are moving with it." He followed the subtle cues the desert provided. A slight shimmer in the sand indicated hidden caves, a faint vibration marked the path of small creatures, and a soft hum revealed underground water channels. He could sense energy flows that the raiders would never notice, and he began to realize the power of patience, observation, and respect for this strange world. By midday, the suns were high and harsh. The raiders had come closer, their movement disturbing small patches of the desert. Jace could sense every shift, every energy ripple, and he decided it was time to test his new abilities. He stepped lightly onto a small ridge and raised his staff. Focusing, he directed the desert's energy to form subtle mirages in the air. The heat and light shimmered, creating the illusion of a canyon where none existed. The raiders paused, scanning the valley, confused by the sudden appearance of the phantom canyon. "Perfect," Island whispered. "You are learning how to guide their attention without harming them." This was exactly what he had hoped to do. Outsmart the raiders without confrontation. He moved through the dunes, leading them in circles, always one step ahead, always hidden in plain sight. The desert became his cloak, shielding him from sight while revealing its secrets only to him. As the sun began to set, the raiders' shadows stretched long across the sands. Jace could feel their frustration. They were skilled scouts, but they could not match someone attuned to the desert itself. He led them toward a narrow canyon where the wind whistled in eerie tones and the sand shimmered like liquid silver. "Here," Island said. "Now you will see how the desert can guide them without you touching a weapon." Jace focused his energy, sending subtle vibrations through the sand to shift small patches of it, creating tracks that led the raiders in circles. They followed, unaware that the paths were illusions. Small crystalline flowers along the trail glowed faintly, reinforcing the mirage. The raiders' curiosity kept them moving forward, but each step took them deeper into the canyon's loops, away from the hidden valley where Jace had begun. It was exhausting, but exhilarating. For the first time in his life, Jace felt completely alive. He was not running from danger, he was dancing with it, using intelligence, intuition, and the desert itself to survive. Hours passed and night fell. The twin moons rose over the dunes, casting silver light across the valley. The raiders, finally realizing they were lost, began to retreat. Jace watched them disappear into the distance, impressed by how easily the desert had helped him protect both himself and the hidden crystal sites. Island placed a hand on his shoulder. "You did well. she said. "The raiders cannot touch the desert's secrets, not when you move with it. But remember, this is only the beginning. You must continue to practice, to grow, and to trust yourself." Jace nodded. He looked up at the moons, feeling the desert's energy flow through him like a river of light. He was no longer just a stranded cowboy. He was part of something greater. The desert had chosen him, and he had begun to understand its gift. As they walked back to the hidden valley, Aelin told him stories of the desert's past. She spoke of guardians who had walked these sands centuries before, who had protected the crystals in the life of Saguaro. 7. She told of explorers who had ignored the desert's lessons and vanished, lost forever in its shimmering dunes. Jace listened intently, absorbing every word. He realized that the desert was not just a tool. It was a teacher, a protector, and a guide. Its lessons were subtle, requiring patience, focus, and respect. And he was learning quickly. By the time they returned to the hidden valley, the stars were bright in the night sky, reflected in the crystalline sands like tiny points of fire. Jace felt a deep sense of peace. He had faced the presence of the raiders and survived. Not with force, but with understanding. Aelin handed him a small pouch of desert crystals. "These will help you connect even more deeply with the energy," she said. "Use them wisely. The desert responds to your intention." Jace held the crystals carefully, feeling their warmth and subtle vibration. He could sense the faint trails of energy running beneath the sand, the hidden life moving in harmony with the planet, and the ways the desert could be used to guide, protect, and teach. "Tomorrow," Aelin said, "you will go further. You will explore the hidden canyons, the crystal rivers, and the energy streams that most outsiders never see. You will test your connection even more deeply. The raiders will return, and when they do, you will be ready, not with violence, but with intelligence, and the desert is your ally." Jace felt a thrill of anticipation. He had always faced danger in his travels, but this was different. He was learning to see the world in ways few could understand, to move with it rather than against it, and to survive using knowledge, observation, and respect. As he lay on the sand that night, holding the glowing crystal, Jace reflected on how much had changed in just a few days. The desert had transformed him. His body healed faster than he had thought possible. His mind had grown sharper, and his spirit felt in tune with the rhythms of the planet. For the first time in his life, Jace Corrigan felt that he was not alone in the universe. He was connected to the desert, to Aelin, and to the mysterious energy that flowed through Saguaro. 7. He felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. And deep in the distance he sensed the raiders moving again, unaware that the desert had chosen its new protector. Jace smiled, feeling the subtle pulse of energy through his veins. He was ready. The desert was ready. And together they would face whatever came next. The night was alive with quiet energy, the sands glowing faintly under the moon's light. Jace drifted to sleep, dreaming not of escape, but of discovery, connection, and the adventures that awaited him in the shimmering dunes of Saguaro. The morning sun rose slowly over Saguaro, 7, casting long golden shadows across the jagged dunes. The desert was alive with energy, glowing faintly as if it were aware that today something important was about to happen. Jace Corrigan stood on the edge of a high ridge, the crystal staff in his hand pulsing softly. His body was strong, his mind focused, and his connection to the desert deeper than it had ever been. Aelin approached quietly, her eyes glowing faintly under the twin suns. She carried a small pouch of desert crystals and a calm expression. "The raiders are near," she said. "They have returned to search for the crystals and the hidden energy streams. Today you will see what it truly means to move with the desert." Jace nodded, feeling the thrill of anticipation. For days he had trained, learned, and grown. He no longer felt like a stranded cowboy. He felt like a guardian, connected to this world in a way that went beyond mere survival. Together they moved down into a hidden valley. The sands glimmered with soft energy guiding their path. Small, crystalline plants responded to their steps, their glow brighter as if welcoming them. Jace could feel the desert's pulse in his chest, the rhythm of life beneath the sand, and he knew that the raiders' steps would not go unnoticed. "They will come here," Aelin said, pointing toward a narrow canyon that twisted through the dunes. "It is rich in crystals and energy flows, but they will not find what they seek if you are listening." Jace closed his eyes, feeling the subtle vibrations beneath him. The raiders were moving carefully, but the desert told him where they were, how they were shifting the sand, and which paths they intended to follow. He understood the pattern of their movement, the small disturbances they created, and he knew how to guide them without ever confronting them directly. He raised his staff, focusing on the energy streams beneath the sand. Small crystals along the canyon began to glow, casting faint lights that reflected off the dunes. The desert responded to his intention, creating illusions of shifting paths, mirages of hidden rocks, and glowing streams that confused the raiders' senses. "They will follow the false paths," Island whispered. "Let the desert guide them, and they will never reach the crystals." Jace smiled, feeling a thrill of mastery. He had learned patience, observation, and subtlety, and now it was time to put those lessons into action. The raiders were clever, but they had no understanding of the desert itself. They would be guided by their own curiosity, following the illusions he created, while the real treasures remained safe and hidden. As the raiders entered the canyon, Jace moved carefully along a hidden ridge. He could see their shadows stretching over the sand, scanning every nook and crevice. But each step they took led them into loops of mirrored energy, reflections of the dunes that twisted their perception. The raiders' frustration grew as they found themselves walking in circles, never reaching the hidden valley where the energy streams flowed freely. Island stood beside him, her calm presence steadying him. "Remember," she said, "the desert protects, but it also teaches. We do not fight. We guide, we protect." Jace nodded. He concentrated, sending subtle pulses through the sand. Small crystalline flowers along the canyon glowed brighter, creating trails that drew the raiders' attention away from the real energy streams. Tiny sand creatures stirred and moved, adding to the illusion, while underground currents shifted slightly to reinforce the mirages. Hours passed as Jace guided the raiders. They wandered deeper into the canyon, frustrated and confused, while the hidden valley remained untouched. He felt a sense of pride, not in defeating them with force, but in protecting the desert and its secrets with intelligence and harmony. By midday, the suns were high, and the raiders finally paused, unsure of where to go next. They looked around the canyon, scanning for signs of hidden paths or crystals, but everything seemed to shift with every movement. They were lost, and Jace knew the desert had done its work. Island placed a hand on his shoulder. "They will not harm the desert. They will leave soon, and they will remember this place as mysterious, untouchable. That is our victory." Jace exhaled slowly, feeling relief and satisfaction. He had faced danger, not with weapons or violence, but with understanding, patience, and the desert's guidance. He had become part of the world he had once thought was hostile and empty. As the suns began to set, Jace and Aelin walked into the hidden valley. The energy streams flowed gently through the crystalline sands, glowing softly under the evening light. The desert was calm, peaceful, and alive, as if it were smiling at him. Aelin handed him a small crystal shard. "This is a symbol of trust," she said. "It is connected to the desert's energy. Keep it with you, and it will remind you of your bond with this world." Jace held the crystal carefully, feeling its warmth and subtle pulse. I don't know how to thank you," he said. "You do not need to," Aelin replied. "You have learned the most important lesson: respect, observation, and connection. That is enough." The twin moons rose over the valley, casting silver light across the sands. Jace could see the faint trails of energy running beneath the surface, the hidden life moving in harmony with the planet, and the beauty of a world most outsiders would never understand. He felt a deep sense of peace and purpose. Suddenly a gentle vibration ran through the sand. Jace knelt and held the crystal shard to the ground, sensing the subtle flow. The raiders were moving away, leaving the valley untouched. Their frustration would make them think twice about returning. The desert had protected its secrets, and Jace had been its guardian. Aelin smiled at him. "You are ready?" she said. "The desert has chosen you, and you have proven yourself. You are no longer a visitor. You are part of this world." Jace felt a warmth in his chest, a connection he had never known. The desert had given him its gift, and he had honored it. He was no longer a stranded cowboy, lost and injured in the dunes. He was a protector, a traveler in harmony with the land, and a student of the desert's wisdom. As the night deepened, Jace and Aelin sat on a dune, watching the stars reflected in the crystalline sands. The desert whispered softly around them, a language of energy and life that Jace now understood. He realized that this world was not just a place to survive, it was a world to learn from, to respect, and to protect. Aelin placed her hand on his shoulder. "Tomorrow we will explore even further. There are more secrets in the desert, more energy streams and hidden places that few have seen. You will continue to grow, and the desert will continue to guide you." Jace nodded, feeling anticipation and excitement. He had faced danger, learned to trust the desert, and protected its hidden treasures. Now he was ready for whatever adventures awaited him, knowing he had the desert itself as an ally. The twin moons shone brightly, and the soft glow of the desert crystals illuminated their faces. Jace held the crystal shard close, feeling the pulse of energy through his body. He felt connected, strong, and alive. The desert had changed him forever. In the distance, the raiders' voices faded, leaving only the whispers of the wind and the hum of energy beneath the sand. Jace closed his eyes, listening to the desert. He could feel its approval, a quiet satisfaction that he had honored its trust. "Thank you," he whispered, not to Aelin, but to the desert itself. "I will protect you." Jace had grown into a guardian, ready to face the challenges of Saguaro, 7 and beyond. The desert had chosen wisely, and it had found someone who could truly understand its gifts. As the night deepened, Jace felt the soft warmth of the crystal shard in his hand and the steady pulse of life beneath his feet. The desert was alive, powerful, and full of secrets. And now he was part of it, forever connected to the shimmering dunes, the glowing crystals, and the quiet energy that ran through Saguaro. 7. He knew that the raiders might return someday, but he was no longer afraid. The desert would protect him, guide him, and give him strength. And he, in turn, would honor it, guarding its secrets, listening to its whispers, and moving in harmony with its life. The twin moons rose higher, bathing the valley in silver light. Jace Corrigan sat on a dune, holding the crystal shard, feeling the desert pulse through his veins. He was no longer a stranded cowboy. He was a guardian, a student, and a protector. And for the first time in his life, he felt truly at home. The desert had chosen him, and in return, he had chosen to honor it forever.